What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Starfighter podcast with Dom and Jake. Hope you all are doing well, enjoying your Friday night. We're back to talk about Loki episodes 3 and 4. We missed last week, but we're back.
Hmm.
And I hope you guys enjoyed some of the other content we had on the channel. The new Spider Man game came out. I finished it in the weekend. Um, I couldn't put it down. It was amazing.
Yeah,
So much fun. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Haven't played Spider-Man, but I have seen the walkthroughs. It's a pretty sick game. But yeah, doing good, man. It's been chilly. It's been good weather here in Cali, so nothing to complain about.
I know we got a little freeze advisory here too.
Oh,
Definitely
it's
getting cold,
nice.
but
It's nice.
yeah, I'm here for it.
Yep, been missing it. Been missing it. The sun's going down too early for
Yeah,
me, but besides
mm,
that, everything else is good. Yeah.
for
But
sure.
all
Well,
right,
we have a returning guest.
we
Excited
do.
to bring her on. But before we get started, guys, hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, check out the podcast feed, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Everything has been updated. So yeah, if you guys want to, if you prefer audio only, you can definitely check us out on there. And please give us 5 stars if you don't mind. We appreciate it.
Yes,
Um,
we do.
but yeah, before we get into things, we'll bring on our guest.
Hey,
Hey,
Kesha, welcome back.
we didn't
thanks for
scare
having
her
me
away.
back. Not yet.
There's still time.
There's still give it time, give it time. How you doing?
I'm good. Finally working, so have a routine going finally. That's
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, always.
Very nice, very nice. And now you're back talking episode 3 and 4 with us.
Yep.
It's awesome. Yeah, just
Exciting stuff.
quick initial thoughts before I throw it over to Jake. I've been enjoying these last 2 episodes for sure. Just about everything about it. And yeah, the music. Me and Jake were talking about it earlier, but that's been something that's been standing out to me quite a bit. I
Yeah,
think sometimes it kind of gets lost in the background, but to some people. But no, I think the music is really awesome.
it's great. Yeah, I love it. All right, well, let's talk episode 3. Go over a little
Yeah.
bit what we liked, what we didn't like, what you thought, maybe a little bit of theory if you have one in there. Kesha, how about you? What did you think about episode 3? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was a great lead into what we see in episode 4.
Yeah. Was there any like standout moments for you in episode 3?
Off the top of my head, at this very moment, no. I'm sure as you guys talk about stuff, I'll think of something, so I'll let you know.
All right, Dom, how about you, man?
Yeah, a couple standout moments. Yeah, and I know we'll mainly talk about episode 4 tonight, but I just thought it would be good to go over a couple things since we missed it last week. But um, yeah, first thing was I liked the origin. I haven't been a huge fan of He Who Remains, um, but like I like the origin and how he was able to get the book and kind of like give it to himself or like a version of himself when he was younger. I thought that was pretty cool. Seeing Ravonna go back in time and walk through that with Miss Minutes. I like that intro.
Yeah, it was super cool. I really, on the music side, just like the opening Marvel music with the piano and like the old timey like 1900s kind of music was sick. I loved like everything about like the aesthetic of it. Honestly, the music throughout the show is hilarious. I really thought that it was interesting seeing that kind of origin story for him. I don't know if that's really like He Who Remains his origin, because at the end of season 1 he explains that he was like born in the 31st century, so it's not necessarily him, but was maybe like a contingency plan for if he got killed. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that later after we talk episode 4, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting saying how he kind of already looks like falling for about it, but the word partnership really scares him, and uh, that's shown through him obviously mind wiping everybody, including Ravonna, and how he doesn't really trust anyone. So it's very much like a copy and paste of like the Loki and Sylvie situation, where like they love each other, quote unquote, but don't know if they could trust each other to like follow through with like things. And so I enjoyed seeing that, and Miss Minutes was kind of breaking out into a little bit of a break, mental break. At the end of episode 3, she kind of expresses her love pretty much for Victor and He Who Remains, and kind of exposes her desire to want to have like a full-fledged body so that she could be with him. And that's just creepy and weird. As Rachel Zegler would say, it's weird. But yeah, so I thought that was all interesting. And the fact that at the end of the episode, Sylvie doesn't kill Victor. We kind of hear her reasoning for why in episode 4, but I thought it was honestly her struggling with the idea of free will, and this guy hasn't done anything yet, and who's she to come in and like end his life if he like isn't the same person? Like, why doesn't he get free will? So I think that was wrestling through her mind, and I still do, but she gives another explanation in this episode 4. But yeah, overall I thought it was a great episode. I was waiting all week this last week to see what Miss Minutes was going to tell or show Ravonna, which it was kind of a letdown, but I thought she was going to tell her something else at the beginning of this episode, but it was just a lot of manipulation. So we'll get into that because Miss Minutes is acting fishy. So
I had another thing too. Well, first, real quick, I liked how you kind of had like the tie-in or like the parallel between Victor and Ravonna, and then in this season, and then Loki and Sylvie in season 1. I hadn't even put that together, but that's kind of cool how they're doing that. Even though I'm still kind of waiting to see if we get kind of like a moment with Loki and Sylvie in this season. To them, like for them to like talk about if they have like feelings for each other and like where that would go, if that's still a thing or not, or if like the trust and everything is just completely broken. So I'm interested in seeing that. Oh, and then the other thing was that I guess kind of the bummer that we missed it last week is because you and I had like a pretty cool theory. We both had like separate theories, but I feel like they kind of tied into each other. But I guess we still don't know 100% if they're gonna work out in the end. But I guess we could talk about it now if you wanted to, Jake. So my theory was basically that Ravonna it was actually like a leader, or she was the one. No, yeah, that's what it was. She was the one that was supposed to kind of rule time, and not necessarily King or He Who Remains. And maybe they did kind of like kill that theory in episode 4. But if they did, it's still pretty similar, I guess, to what I thought, because she is in a leadership role. But maybe we'll find out more. But then what was your theory that kind of like tied in with that?
I think I said something like, I think that Renslayer could possibly be like a Kang variant that he kind of picked up, that like he fell in love with, kind of exactly like Loki and Sylvie. And so she could possibly lead the TVA, is like kind of the connection that we had, is that maybe if she is a King variant, that she's supposed to be the one that's supposed to be ruling, and he kind of manipulates her and gets the upper hand, and then, wipes her mind so she can't like do anything about it. So that was definitely an interesting theory, and it's still possible. It's floating around. I mean, never say never in this show, I'll tell you that much. But
yeah, and then you had something about Miss Minutes too, and like how she played a part in that.
Yeah, and
if
I
you
was
want to talk
saying,
about it.
what was it about? Just like Ravonna, kind of being, yeah. So I was, for a little while now, I've been kind of thinking, and especially at the end of episode 3, it kind of sounded like Ravonna had a southern twang to her, which sounded a little bit like Miss Minutes, and maybe that was like her normal speaking voice before like she got taken. But I was thinking, like, geez, Ravonna and Miss Minutes watching episode 3 have so many similarities in the fact that they do love He Who Remains. They both like have feelings for him, and maybe when he created Miss Minutes, he kind of created her in the liking of Ravonna, and maybe even took some of her like temporal aura and used that to give her this AI mind where she could think for herself. And that's not too far of a stretch, because even if she isn't a king variant or anything like that, she was like the leader of his armies, and he wanted to keep that like tactical mind, that brutality probably that she had, and put it into Miss Minutes so that he can still use her knowledge and brutality in the future to like make decisions on what to do. So I think that's still something that's like really up in the air. I would be really stoked if they tied that in somehow, but yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a cool theory.
It'd be
That would make
interesting.
sense. That'd make a lot of sense to me too.
I have
Yeah.
something for later, kind of along that
Yeah.
theory.
Oh geez, here we go. Let's hear it. I'm excited,
It's
folks.
for later. It's for later.
Okay,
Did
okay,
you-
okay.
Did you have anything, Kesha, on episode 3 before we go into episode 4?
Honestly, just the general, like the entirety of episode 3, how it was like kind of back in the day, but not like you were saying. It's not his initial timeline according to what he had said. So like it kind of is showing what I kind of thought of it as this is what he wanted himself to be like, and so this is the path he's choosing, that he would rather be the person in control.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it.
Mm-hmm. All right, I like it. We'll get into it because I think that there's some other weird things happening. Contingency plans, as I put it earlier. So I think he's got a couple different things lined up in the pipeline. If something doesn't work, then maybe something else will work, and that's like part of the whole Ouroboros loop, snake eating its tail. I think that they're going to be stuck maybe for a little bit until they figure out like how to break the cycle. I'll get into it later because I think that this is like setting up a lot of things for like not this show but movies in the future, like Secret Wars and stuff.
Dang it. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, we'll get to it after episode 4 because this is like, after this, folks, no one's seen episode 5 and 6. Disney only handed out the first 4 episodes to everybody, so moving forward, no one knows anything right now. That's
Well,
gonna happen.
not everybody, but like special people.
Yeah, like we'll call them. I'm not gonna call them, but yeah, the Disney folks that they.
Oh yeah,
they
YouTube doesn't
favored.
like that word either.
What?
They don't
The word
like
I was gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
YouTube and Twitch, they don't like that word.
Okay, well, I won't say it, but we know what I'm gonna say. Everybody does. So yeah. On that note, let's just like dive right into episode 4. I'm gonna go through it, hit some major bullet points of the episode, and you guys jump in, feel free at any time, throw in your theories or say, hey, wait a minute, I got a question. Jake, you're an idiot. I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong about this. I'm gonna be like, cool, let's do it. All right. So I mean, this episode starts off basically how episode 3 ended. It's Sylvie, or it's Renslayer and Miss Minutes at the end of time in that tower, and she's like, I gotta show you something that's gonna make you really mad. And it's showing like kind of like just how deranged this clock is and how manipulative it is. And also kind of how deranged Renslayer is, because she could have taken a couple different things out of this, but basically she just shows her the scene that we already heard the recording for in episode 1, with the conversation between Renslayer and Kang, and he's like, yeah, we'll rule this together, blah blah blah, like, yeah, you're good, go back, I'll catch up with you. And right after that, he pulls an Order 66, calls Protocol 42 into play and tells Miss Minutes to wipe everyone's mind, which makes me kind of wonder, like, because everybody in the beginning, I don't know if you guys thought this, like, I thought like OB was never mind wiped, but I think he might have been mind wiped like this one time to kind of get the ball rolling to keep him like efficient. Because that's the only reason why I think Kang's doing this is keep like efficiency and not have problems of people being like, dude, I want to just like go back to my own timeline. I've been living here for like a millennium, like just let me go. So that's how it opens up. She shows Renslayer that. Renslayer gets pretty upset, and then boom, we're off running, folks. Okay. Victor Timely shows up in the TVA. This place is breaking down. And all the 4 main characters kind of convince him like, hey dude, we're not the bad guys, we're here to help, like you need to help us, and they convince him to help. Meanwhile, B15 is like, okay, we gotta figure out what to do. And she talks to the other lady, I forget her name. Do either of you guys know the other older lady?
No, I couldn't remember what her name was.
It's something weird too. Yeah. She talks to her. Yeah, what's up?
Oh, just before you got too far, I just wanted to say I really liked the intro. I know you thought it was kind of mid, but
it was just
it was one of my favorite parts about the episode. And I really liked the part just towards the end where Miss Minutes was like, maybe we don't need him, maybe we never needed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the music comes in, and yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Which is like why I asked you the question before we started the stream, like motives, but yeah, I'm like, okay, so but yeah, so that happens.
Quick to add in to what he just said, if you pay attention to their facial reactions, you can see like the difference. So like He Who Remains seems really concerned, whereas like Renslayer's like all in for it.
Yeah.
In what, in the little video?
Yeah, in the video, like if you watch the facial reactions, it's completely different vibes between the two of them.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that Victor, or He Who Remains, is kind of lying to her that whole time. Yeah, he's like, oh cool, like we did it, yeah, like this is for us for all time. And she's like, always. And he's like, yeah, sure pal, go back there, I'm gonna completely mind wipe you. So well, he doesn't like partners, and we found that out from episode 3. And I think that's just a trust thing that he's going through. We'll get into a little theory time later on that. But yeah, so B15 talks to the older lady, and she's basically like, we need everybody we can get, especially people that actually love the TVA, that like want to have the TVA like succeed. So Docs, like, to her credit, like is still following like her beliefs. B15 goes down and tries to convince her like, yo, like we need to work together to like figure this out. Like if Renslayer comes back, like Miss Minutes, and we're like defenseless, and I don't have the use of your Minutemen and stuff, like we're not gonna last very long. And Docs kind of takes a second and thinks about it, and we'll get to it later. But they're definitely debating on what they should do. But after that, Timely actually gets to meet OB. Another little fanboy moment. We got the Casey and OB scene in episode 2, I believe it was, and now we got the Victor Timely and OB scene, and they're both like enamored with each other. Like they like biggest fans of each other. They stop each other, ask for an autograph. You know.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Like, will you sign mine? Only if you sign mine.
Yeah. But this scene brings up an interesting question for sure. What came first, the chicken or the egg, right? You know, Mobius and Loki kind of look at each other, and he's like, because you hear Obi say, oh yeah, this guy Victor Timely came back and like told me like how to do everything, which kind of makes me think that this is like not the first time that this is happening, because if he would have said that, he would have said like He Who Remains from the 31st century, not Victor Timely. You know what I mean? So maybe this has already been looped, and so he already has the knowledge that he talked to this guy previously. So it's a little confusing, but they're definitely arguing over like, oh no, he taught me, and then Kang's like, oh no, this guy taught me. And so or I should say Victor Timely's like, no, this guy taught me. So it's a very interesting kind of situation that they're going through. But yeah, what do you guys think about the situation? Like, who came first? Like, did Obi or He Who Remains actually create it, or like, did they do it
Like
together?
The TVA or the book or both?
Both, yeah. Like, who gained knowledge from who? Because it seems like Obi said that he got it from Victor Timely, not He Who Remains, and then Victor Timely is like, oh, like I gained all my knowledge from Obi. But that's because, is that just because Victor Timely isn't He Who Remains, so he just thinks like Obi's the one that gave him all this information because he kind of did write the book, but Obi only remembers it as like Victor Timely giving him the information.
Okay,
So
let me just so they've made
please.
it obvious that Victor Timely has multiple variants. Like that's common knowledge at this point. So He Who Remains is a version. Yes.
Okay. No, I didn't know. So I'm curious about that.
Well, okay. He Who Remains. Anyways.
I feel like when in the beginning of episode 3 they first show up in 1873 or whatever, that says main timeline. And then when they go back there in 1893 or whatever, when he's older, it says branch timeline. So it's possible that like giving him the book made him like into a variant of himself in the past.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Wait,
okay. So to me, that made it seem.
Yeah, let's set up.
So, Kesha, are you saying like when you say that Victor has multiple variants, do you mean like all of them? Like, doesn't matter his name, or do you mean like Victor specifically? Like,
okay,
or you mean Kang?
Specify what I was meaning.
Yeah,
so like He Who Remains has multiple different variants.
Okay, cool.
He says that himself. Victor
Yeah.
Timely would therefore then be a variant of him.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was meaning. That's kind of common knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, shoot.
My bad. I think I threw her off.
Okay, let me see. Hold on. I'm sure I have it wrote down.
Who came first, the chicken or the egg?
Okay.
So that is the question.
Yeah.
Well, I had it wrote down anyways. So, don't laugh at me.
That's my
I'm
bad.
not. I'm having a great time. Yeah.
So anyways, since there's multiple versions of him, oh no, my thought process is gone.
This is what the show will do to you, folks. This is what the show will do to you.
Don't
think too hard.
Once.
Yeah, don't think too hard about it.
Now she's not coming back.
No.
See, I think it's almost more likely that like this is just looped. I feel like a lot of this show has been like the 10th time. Like, you ever see The Matrix and like he gets to the guy at the end and he's like, dude, you've been through this like 400 times. Like, this isn't the first time I've had this conversation with you. And you know how Loki went back in the beginning when he was time slipping and it started changing the future. So that's what like where I come from in this is like maybe that this is just all such a big loop that it's like just layering it on top of itself, and so you can't really take what someone says like straight up at this point, because it could just be like the fact that it went back in time and changed it, and so now Obi thinks that like that's what happened. And this Victor guy just came in for the first time and is like, dude, like I've never met you, like you wrote the book, like I don't know, like I'm just an inventor. So
okay. It came back to me now. So before I forget this time,
go for it.
So I personally think that He Who Remains came before Obi. And Obi was taught a basic set of skills by He Who Remains and then ran off with that. And so that's why there's a difference now, because this is a different variant when we see Victor. So Obi gives Victor all the knowledge that he already has wrote down, and Victor's applying that to his timeline, which is why he's able to come up with new things, and you see all the stuff that happens in episode 3. Would that have even happened if he never got that book?
Yeah, probably not. That's the thing. He was just like simple candle maker. And again, contingency plan. I think that Kang, or He Who Remains, is like this guy. Like, I could use him, right? You kind of explained that too, Kesha. You're like, yeah. So like, I think that there's multiple different Kangs like scattered, obviously, throughout the timeline, and he could like pick and choose which one. Like, that's where they all come from. They're not all from the same like time as He Who Remains. So, you know, and we see at the end of Ant-Man Quantumania, the fact that there's like an Egyptian one, like another alien race one, like a whole bunch of them. So, yeah. Gosh, this next scene, guys, I don't know if you want to talk about it. So after this, there's a scene in between this and it. I had one word to say about it. Basically, Mobius is like, I just want to go get some pie. Like, there's nothing we can really do at this point. And Sylvie's like, okay, I was going to say some British things, but I cut back right there. I'm not going to do it. But she's basically calls him an idiot. And like, yeah, okay. Tone it down, Jake. And gets mad at him. And it's like, you haven't even seen your own thing. Like, what's wrong with you? I had one thing to say about this scene, and I said it in the middle of the scene. I said, this chick is annoying the bejeebus out of me, and I need her to die immediately. You know, Don, that's just how I handle people on TV shows that annoy me. Just get them out of there.
Yeah.
No, but she's just like complaining and stuff, and it's like, what are you doing here? Like, just go home. Like, leave us alone. Like, if you're just gonna sit here and complain, Sylvie, like, no one wants you here. Okay, like, just go. Leave us alone. After this scene, though, we get probably one of the darker scenes I think we ever had in like a Marvel show.
Wait, can we back up for a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? Yeah.
Oh, and I'm only doing that because Jake told me, guys, before the show started.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
He gave me the green light to interrupt. But I like that scene, like the little speech that she gives him.
Mm-hmm.
I see where you're coming from for sure, like being kind of annoying and like, it's like, well, you're not actually being helpful either, Sylvie, like right now. But I think it kind of plays into like the theme of what's going on in the show too, because we see that basically, you know, the TVA, like their ideology and everything is being questioned now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's multiple sides, and how are we going to continue this on? If we're even able to save the TVA, how are we going to continue on? And I think everyone kind of realizes it can't stay the same that it was, but people are still holding on to certain things. And I think to her point, like, you know, she said something to the effect of like, you know, the clocks don't tick in the TVA, and then like, you know, everything is just lines on a screen basically, where it's like time and timelines are supposed to have so much significance and importance to the TVA, but they kind of like are purposefully blind to a lot of things that are going on. They're kind of selective in certain,
very numb.
Yeah, I think especially to Mobius, because you know, since his mind's been wiped, it's like all he's ever known, and like he's even said it in the past, like, you know, he doesn't want to know if he had a life that's bad, but then he really doesn't want to know if he had a life that was really good, because that would be even worse. So
he doesn't want to pull a Bradley.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like that. I thought I thought it had some significance to like some of the other stuff that's going on with the show and the TVA.
It did. I watched it a second time today, and I didn't find myself so annoyed with her in that scene, for sure. Just leave the poor guy alone, you know? Just let him go eat some pie, lady. All right, he's about to die any second. All right, just let him be.
Loki, I wanted to see like a pie scene again.
We almost got one. We kind of got one a little bit, but yeah. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yeah, it has significance for sure. And we're gonna get into it next episode. Guarantee it, folks. Got the evidence, got the receipts right here. So coming up to like the next scene, this is Dom's favorite scene, because he's brutal like this. So he really enjoyed it. He had the Miss Minutes face going on when the scene was happening. Do it. Do it. Yeah. Full Sidious mode right there too. Full Sidious mode, dude. But Renslayer pops up and she shows up into the cell with Docs and all of her people. And they're sitting there contemplating. Her and Bradley are sitting there contemplating, like, do we trust B-15 or not? Boom. She comes in. B-15 just told her, like, don't trust Renslayer. Like, she's going to come and, like, kill all of us. And so Docs immediately knows, like, all right, this chick is off the rails. She's talking about following her to take down the people at the top of the TVA, B-15. She says B-15 wants to rule. Not in any part of anything that B-15 has done has made it seem like she wants to rule the TVA. So Docs is like, you're crazy, lady, and backs up. But Renslayer promises them that they can all go back to their regular lives after she takes over the TVA. So Bradley chooses to team up with her. And Miss Minutes jumps in that little machine, starts it up, and they get stuck in that little cube. And this scene was brutal, but it had one of like the best BA lines I've ever heard in my life from someone. And she asked Renslayer as their box is shrinking and everyone's getting closer together. She says, "How does it make you feel knowing that none of us like want to follow you through that door? Mm-hmm. Like you're crazy, lady. Like just know that, and we'd all much rather die in this box than follow you." And this scene is horrendous because not only like are they gonna get squished, but like Bradley at least was in his own X5 or whatever, was in his own box, and in this box they're crushing each other. They're gonna feel each other's bones snapping against one another as they suffocate and die and turn into mush. They don't show it at all ever because honestly, like this they'd probably have to raise the rating even if they just showed like a bunch of blood all over the ground and crushed bones.
Way to paint a picture, Jake.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the craziest thing about this is Bradley doesn't do anything. He peeks once over at them as they're dying, and that's it. And Miss Minutes is sitting back there like smiling with freaking murderous glee all over on her face. Okay. And I was like, this is, I think I wrote down Miss Minutes' eyes shine with murderous glee because she's enjoying it so much and just like soaking it in, and she's manipulating the situation so bad.
She's pure evil.
Thoughts on this scene? Yeah, thoughts on this scene, Dom?
Yeah, she's pure evil. It was a crazy scene. Also another one of those moments like where the music was everything in the scene too, because they didn't show anything. Yeah. And so the music kind of provided like that suspense and that feeling that they're trying to capture.
Did you see that scene going that way, dude? When she showed up?
I kind of had a feeling something like that was gonna happen.
You're sick, man.
I just thought it was. I just thought it was kind of crazy too, because like, I mean, I don't know like the history of Miss Minutes, but like, all I know is that I think like the large audience had a much different, like they viewed her much differently. Like when we first were introduced to her character in season 1, and then to see her acting this way now, like it's just so crazy, like a really big turn kind of.
Oh yeah, massive. Well, I wrote down a few questions here. I think we kind of asked and I kind of talked about before, like, and you kind of just mentioned it, the fact that we first see Miss Minutes and how she acts is like very, very much different than how she is like right now. And I don't know exactly what I mean. I kind of talked about, like, I think it turned in episode 3 when Victor was like, nah, like, I just don't want you. You're crazy. And she was like, all right, like, we don't need him anymore. Like, let's just do it ourselves. Pull a Thanos. But God, I lost my thought. But what did you think? Do you think that like, what are her goals or motives, Kesha? Like, because she seems so happy about this. She seems different from when we even saw her in the beginning of this episode, in that kind of like like watch back that she does for Ravonna. When Victor's like wiped their minds, she's like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, that's kind of messed up almost. Like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. So like, she used to be like kind of decent, and now she's off the rails. What's her motives and what's her goals, do you think, Kesha?
I was gonna rewind a little bit before I dive into that specifically. I thought it was interesting because it really, honestly, it shows more in episode 3 if you look at the hints to everything. Like, episode 4 makes it obvious, but in episode 3, when you like look back on it, there's little things that she does, or like the way that she acts and the way that she kind of like doesn't care in episode 3 what's happening. She's just doing things, and she's like, I'm gonna make this happen. It's almost like she had this confidence before that whatever this plan is that she was following was being executed properly, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this dude isn't doing things the way that I expected him to. So now I'm like confused what's going on. I'm getting concerned in episode 3. So in episode 4, she kind of becomes vengeful because she's like, this dude is doing absolutely nothing at all from what I was told was supposed to happen. So as far as a motive and goal, I think her motive is mostly just that he's not who she expected him to be, and so she's disappointed and taking it out on everybody. What her end goal is, I would have no idea, because that would depend on what her understanding of the plan in the initial place was going to be.
Okay. All right.
Or is it more
Simple.
like a typical AI kind of gone wrong type of situation, right? Where it's like, I guess like technology starts to take over, right?
I mean, it could be, but I think that she already has shown that her feelings are more involved within her technology than they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of just counters all of the AI gone wrong, because at this point it's not just her programming. Like, this is her initial feelings that are being interactive with everything that's happening.
Okay.
I think she still probably wants to have like a physical form as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, I think, before too, Dom. I think she might just at this point be like, what kind of what you said, Kesha, where she's like, all right, like, this guy's not doing it. But I think that she, like Dom says, kind of wants a physical form, wants her own body, and she does want to rule the TVA, but as a partner, and probably with someone that she loves, like a Kang variant. And so I still think she's gonna go out and look for a Kang variant. I don't think that this is just gonna be her running around and being like what Dom kind of just said, like AI gone wrong. Although I could see them taking that route, but it seems like she does want to be like loved by someone.
Mm-hmm.
And if she can get that love from Ravonna, because her and Ravonna are so similar, I don't know, but she does manipulate a lot of Ravonna, and a lot of this kind of also makes me think that this was part of He Remains' plan still, is to like have this happen. And I'll get into why, I guess, at the end, but
yeah, I was gonna say, I have a lot to talk about on this.
So,
but that makes sense, Jake, because later on she says to Victor, well, it's like the last thing that she says to him is that you'll never be him. So I feel like that would make sense too, if she does come back, that she will try and look for a variant, and then kind of like what Kesha said, like someone that's like more what she originally thought, that person was.
Mm-hmm. Kang the Conqueror.
Because this Victor, he's not it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's too soft for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, anyways, that scene's horrendous. And you could hear the things you hear too, like the bubbles from their blood and bones after, and the dripping. And then later on, B-15 walks into the room, and you hear it still dripping through the grate in the floor, and it cuts immediately to the hot chocolate dripping in the cup. And you're just like, that's okay. I don't need. They didn't show us, but you're like, okay, we know what's happening in that room. But yeah, after that, Loki and Sylvie talk about the free will part, and I feel like Dawn would have a lot to say on this part. I don't know if you do, but it's the pie scene without the pie. I really didn't write too much down. It's just like I kind of touched on it, like why Sylvie didn't kill Victor. She said that like, oh, he seemed scared, and like He Who Remains didn't seem scared. And then she says, or at least I couldn't tell if he was. And it's kind of weird that she says that, because at the end of like that whole episode 6 of season 1, like he's sitting there and he looks terrified because he's like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Like this could all burn to the ground or it could go well. And like I thought he seemed scared, like, but I think that she was just so angry and full of revenge that she just couldn't see that. But yeah. Jeez, man. Yeah, so I don't know.
To interrupt and talk on that specifically. You were saying earlier about not knowing if Sylvie trusts Loki the same anymore. I think that has a lot to show specifically within that, because the first time when she actually went through with it, she didn't care at all what Loki said. She still didn't have the trust for Loki. She liked him, but she didn't trust him. And that showed when she just went through with it. Like, she was blinded by her rage. Whereas this time, Loki was like, hey, let's not do this. And she, like, kind of opened up to it. I think that shows that there's more of a trust than's being led on.
It was kind of a weird sequence how you're kind of putting it. It seemed like she was blocked off, and then Loki started talking to her, and she seemed like, and when Loki starts being like, okay, like she's like, she says, you guys killed all those timelines. What happened to all those timelines you guys just pruned? And he said, what about the ones that we saved? Like, you don't care about like the fact that there are people like Mobius, like B-15, like Casey, like Obi, and he calls out these people. So Sylvie hates the TVA as like an entity in itself, like a whole. Like the phrase humans are bad, people are good, like there are good people within the TVA, and Loki's like, yo, like we are trying to do something good here, like there's good people that are here trying to like save everything, so our motives are good. And then like he goes into, yo, free will you can't just give to people, you have to like control it in some way. And she says like, oh, interfering for good, oh, I've heard that before, because that's exactly what He Who Remains was doing. So she did have this like blocked off, okay, it's okay, like I'm hearing you out too, dude, like I don't like what you're saying right now at all. So that was a like kind of an interesting conversation for sure. And I love when he says like, she says something along the lines of like, we aren't gods, or like we can't just play God, and he said we are gods, like, but it wasn't like intimidating, imposing. It was him just being like, this is almost like we kind of have to do it, like if we don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And we're probably the best fit people for it. And so we'll see where that leads.
I also liked how he was kind of saying, basically like you can't just take the easy way out which is
Mm-hmm.
walking away from something. Like that's the easy thing to do, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
much harder to put in the work and try to fix something that's damaged or broken, try and put it back together. Um, but like it can be worth it, you know what I mean? And I think we see that like Loki's come to really care about the TVA.
It's
Or
dude.
but like you said, like the good people in the TVA especially.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's friends now, and Loki isn't someone that makes a lot of friends. Um, and so he's very mature now, and like you said too, he calls Sylvie mature. He like gives her props. He's like, you didn't kill him. Like when Thor came back, like I thought he was weak, but really like he just cared about those people, like, and he understood like his um responsibility, I guess. So yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. I think this all still points to like Loki has to rule. Like how he's talking about it is how He Who Remains was like, you need to do it this way. Like I trust you guys. It's going full circle, people. All right. It's a
The
snake in its own
excitement.
tail, people. All right. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. I'm excited to see where this goes, folks. Anyways, pie scene without the pie happens. And then um there's a whole thing with this chocolate cocoa machine. Victor makes pulls out the little device and helps them plug it in, and it works. And they're like, heck yeah. And they come back, and it's just like so focused on this cocoa. I told Dom before, it seems like this has happened before, and like the cocoa machine is like a plant to like help him get away. Like, I don't know what the whole plan is. We'll
Was
get
it
into it
his
at the end.
invention too? Was it his invention?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he did invent it like later on in a different timeline, and that's why he loves it so much. I mean, he made the chair with the cooler on the side of it, and so he's like already interested in that kind of stuff, temperature gauging and stuff like that. So like he was like, "Oh, you have a cocoa machine? Like I want to like what? Like show me this bad boy." But they show that machine like 3 times throughout the episode. Like just when they're walking by it, like there's a zoom out shot from it, like right when they get down in the beginning. So I'm like, what is like? There's something going on with this machine. I'm curious. I feel like we're not going to learn about it, but I would love to learn about the cocoa machine.
Like what's the deal with the pie too? Because they're showing that a lot too.
I know. Well, the theory is that the pies. Dude, you want to hear the dark theory I just heard? Oh my gosh! Shout out to Eric Voss and New Rockstars, man. He is sick. He thinks that the cubes crush people and they take the blood and bone like stuff and use that in the pies, and it's like a drug to the people that work at the TVA to like keep them docile and like not ask questions. So he thinks that like that's why you can only have the pie once a week. There's a poster for it that says you can have your pie once a week. You have to come eat your pie once a week. That's a sick thought. I don't think that's happening, but I think it might be something where it's like kind of like a drug, and it kind of keeps them, it's like the office pizza party. We're gonna keep my employees happy. I'll give you guys a slice of pizza. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I like pizza. It keeps me happy. Anyways.
It could also be a thing of like, so they get their minds wiped every so often when he feels it's like need be. So it could be a thing of like that kind of reinforces that mind wipe, so that way they can't just start remembering things.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, there you go. That's the pie thing, man. Nobody knows, Dom. I love the question. Nobody knows. Let's see. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I don't know. With both of those, like it seems like there's more of a meaning with the pie, more of a meaning with the cocoa.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Food for thought. Drink for thought.
Literally.
And I think to answer your question on like if the hot cocoa machine was made by him, they do say in a scene that like all of the technology things were created by him. So it's very much a possibility that he did create it, because they specifically say that within the episode.
Yeah, they do. But was it Obi that created it? I don't know. Was it Obi that told him how to create it? I don't know. The chicken or the egg, folks. It's getting wild. All right. Back on track, Jake. Don's just over there
Too much
sipping his
excitement.
water. Anyways, this Cocoa machine comes up. Victor's like, dude, I need to go check this bad boy out, baby. X5 is like, no. D90 is his name. Is like, all right, like, let's go. I'll take you. Takes a sip. Probably the best tasting cocoa he's ever had. Boom! He dead. But he got some delicious cocoa. Pluses and minuses, folks. Pluses and minuses. And X5's there's like, yo, like, I'm taking you. He takes Victor. And this scene's like kind of hilarious, I thought, when like, you know, Mobius and Loki and Sylvie kind of like run up and they find the hot cocoa on the ground and they're like, oh no, it happened. I don't know if they thought that maybe D90 turned into the hot cocoa. I don't know, but whatever it was, it happened. And then it goes into the sequence of the interesting sequence of the end of episode 1 blending in with the end of this episode 4, where Sylvie and Loki are like, we gotta go get him back, and they're trying to make their way to him, and Miss Minutes is blocking them off and stopping them to separate them. Sylvie gets locked in an elevator. Loki has to go around, but then it cuts immediately to episode 1 Loki running around in the TVA as it's falling apart, looking for a pruning stick so that he can prune himself when the time's right. And shows Loki kind of come out of the shadows and realize, oh, like, I've been here before. And then you see his past self / present self like walk into frame, and he has this realization, like, I gotta prune myself so I can keep this kind of loop going. And I think that was like super important. I kind of wish he kind of said something like, hey, yo, Loki, all this stuff is going to happen. Maybe you should do this. And then pruned him. That would have been really helpful probably, but he didn't. He just said, like, it has to happen this way, and prunes him. I don't know if that's more of like Loki feeling like he has control over the situation now, where he's like, I get to control my own destiny now. Like, I pruned myself. Like, I'm figuring it out. Like, he has faith in himself that like this, like, he can get through this. I don't know what this really means. I think I wrote something down that I wrote down, you know, like, is the future episodes going to be a loop? Like, do you think that we're going to go back to the beginning of this series in the next episode and have Loki still like might have like a memory of this happening? Or like, what do you guys think about this loop situation? Because Dom, I know you had some kind of questions about it, and I think tried to explain it in this scientist
I'm gonna
thing.
try and take your advice and not think about it too hard. Okay. Because then it might just it'll get confusing, and then it'll get frustrating. So we'll just kind of see where it goes. But I mean, we're not there quite yet. But as far as the loop goes, maybe it will play into how things turn out for the next episode. Yeah, because like with the way this episode ended, it's kind of like, well, what could happen, or like what could possibly happen? So I'm just thinking either we're gonna see a scene that happens in the past, or we're gonna see something that happens in the future, I think.
Oh man, yeah. Oh shoot, I glossed over something. Yeah, I get it. I get you.
I don't know if that made much sense, but
no, because I think I was like, we had like a little bit of a conversation about like how, you know, the scientist kind of finds a book to make a time machine on his doorstep one day, and makes a time machine, and one of the first things he does is go back in time to put that book on his doorstep so that he can make that time machine. And so I think Loki in that time was like, okay, I gotta prune myself to get myself back, because if I don't, then like this cycle ends here. I don't know how far like we're gonna go, but we'll get into a little bit later. What'd you
Before
think,
you go
Kesha?
farther, okay, I thought we're gonna just go farther forward without let me speak for a second.
No. I
So,
had to ask you. This is a pivotal part of the show. I got to get your thought process on it.
yeah, no, it made me think about a lot of things. So I have wrote down, um, if it's like this or that. So like, is this a thing of like Loki's taking over the TVA to prove he can be a hero, or is it him taking over the TVA to change his timeline from being the god of mischief into being a hero? So that way, therefore, he's able to be the hero and fix everything.
Are you asking me, or are you gonna answer it?
No, I'm asking you. I wanted to know
I
what
have
you
no
thought about it.
idea.
I don't know. I kind of think that it's his way of changing his timeline, because we kind of see the setup for that with He Who Remains. So it's almost like Loki kind of picked up on the way that He Who Remains set things out to be, and it would just make sense, especially for like future movies and shows and stuff, for Loki to have changed himself, because he constantly had said through everything we know in the past of how he hates being the person that literally messes everything up. And he wants to be good, but he just always ends up failing. So that's kind of where I'm like thinking maybe this is his way of changing his timeline, the same as He Who Remains is trying to change his timeline.
All right. Yeah,
I like that theory.
I like it. I think I don't know. It feels just like he's destined to rule the TVA, but I have a question at the end of this that, yeah, I don't know.
Well, with that theory, though, I'd be agreeing with you, because he would be the one that would be taking control, because he's changing his timeline to be the hero. So if he's going to be the hero, he's fixing everything. So he'd want to be in control of the TVA to keep everything going properly.
I'm kind of like thinking of other motives too. Like, I'm sure there's definitely selfish motives, but like also, and maybe this is like somewhat selfish too, but like, we know he's had like very complicated relationships with his parents. And I think he's kind of like acted like he doesn't really care very much about like their opinions of him in the past, but I think deep down he has like a lot of guilt and feels like he's failed them, like failed his family, maybe failed like certain people back home, and like to him being able to change his fate, his destiny, whatever, could kind of like, I don't know, take away some of those negative feelings and like give him like a sense of relief that like they would be proud of him to see where he's come.
Wow, I freaking love that, actually.
Oh, thanks, man.
He mentions in this episode, he talks about the first Thor movie, and if you remember how that movie ends, he literally is hanging on at the edge of a cliff, and his dad saves him and Thor, and he's holding on to the staff that Thor's holding, and Thor's being held on by the dad, and he's like, it's such a sad scene because he's like, I did this for you, like I did this for us to protect our realm. Like he did all that stuff in Thor 1 to like make his father proud, because he didn't feel like, because quote unquote he's been living in his brother's shadow his whole life. So I love that thought process, and I even mentioned Thor 1 in this episode, and I could totally see that being the case for sure. Definitely. Yeah. Love it. Freaking love it. All right. After this, if a huge theory, everyone's like, who the heck is calling on the phone? Like, why? Like, what's going on with that? Turns out it's just Obi trying to get a hold of him. And he's like, yeah, like, where are you guys? What's taking so long? And then for what I kind of was bummed, because he's like, oh yeah, we could like shut down the whole system, but like we're gonna lose our security stuff. I get that he didn't want to like lose the protocols and the security systems. Like that didn't work out so well in Jurassic Park when they did that. All the dinosaurs got out and ate everybody. So I understand your logic, Mobius or Obi, but he's like, all right, like shuts it down. Missed minutes. this part was freaky because it's showing Victor Timely, Ravonna Rensselaer, and X5 and Miss Minutes in the war room, and they're like, "What's going on?" And basically, Victor's like stalling them, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this in the book, and like we'll talk about this. Like that's what I do," and like he's just stalling them and not telling them where the device is. But Obi reboots the system, and you mentioned it before, like her last words. It was freaky because Miss Minutes is like glitching out. And I don't know if you guys caught this in the first time you watched it, but I caught it the second time I watched it. It was like one of the funnier scenes in like the whole show. As Miss Minch is glitching out and trying to say stuff, it sounds like she's stuttering, and it shows Victor Timely, and he's like, "Well, mockery isn't very flat. Like mocking me isn't like very funny. Like I don't get the point of it." He says something hilarious to that effect, like, "I don't understand why you're mocking me."
I didn't catch it right away, but I remember now.
At all.
Yeah, she's all like trying to finish it. He's like, he kind of gets like offended that she's like trying to mock him because he doesn't understand technology. He doesn't know that she's glitching out. You know, he's just like sitting there, like, what the heck is going on? And Miss Minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty clever joke.
I thought it was like I kind of missed it the first time, and then I heard it the second time. I was like, what the heck, dude? Like that's hilarious. But then Miss Minutes disappears, and before she disappears, she says, "You'll never be him." Guys, what is going on? I really need to get through this breakdown because I have some things to say about what is happening right now in the show. Okay, that happens. Boom, lights out. Ravonna's like, "Go check that out, X5. Check out that scary noise in the hallway. Don't ever do that. If someone tells you to do that, you're gonna die in a horror movie. I've been watching plenty of those lately. It's Halloween, folks." He goes out there. He sees Loki, and they enchant him. Sylvie enchants him, and he goes back in and prunes Ravonna. I say prune because there's still such thing as pruning, folks. We'll get to it. And then they get Victor, and they go down to the loom room, and gosh, this scene's hard, man. I don't know if Dom was expecting it. I got this whole scene spoiled for me by one of my other people on YouTube last week. That like I wasn't even watching something about Loki. It was about a completely different topic, and like out of left field, this person just jumps in and says, "Oh, dude, Victor Timely dies in the next." I was like, "What? Like, why did you like out of nowhere?" And so like that scene didn't hit me, but they get down to the loom. They use his temporal aura, and Victor's like, "No, I need to do this." And that was literally because Miss Minutes told him that he would never be He Who Remains. It was like a 4D chess move to get him to like go and sacrifice himself to die. So in the scene, he's like, they're talking about, he's like, "No, like I have to do it. Like I'm the only one that knows how to work it." Blah blah blah. They play heroic music. And I was like, oh no, like I already knew like he wasn't gonna live this episode. So I was like, oh geez, like this is probably not gonna go well, but I didn't expect it to go the way it did. Dom, immediately like your immediate reaction to it. Like, let me hear it. Were you upset? Were you happy? Because I know you, and you hated Quantumania, and you're like, dude, they're making Kang look like a sissy because they just killed him off like in that one movie. They get another variant of him, and he dies within an episode of the show.
Yeah.
So were you upset, or were you like, "Oh, thank goodness"?
Not really either of those. I mean, I like this version of him a little bit better. Like, he's like not even one of the main reasons why the show's working for me. It's really still Loki and Mobius for me, but I thought it was a good twist, something that, you know, would be a good surprise for most people. I'm sorry it got spoiled for you too.
I was so mad, dude.
Yeah, that sucks, bro.
I never finished that YouTube video, by the way, folks. I just said turn that off. Sorry, buddy.
Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. I was like, I wrote a nasty comment. You SOB. Why would you ever say something like that about? Why? Anyways, Kasha, how did you feel about this scene? I know you've seen all the movies. You saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania as well. So
Yeah. First off, I have to say, the entire time of watching this, every once in a while he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna spoil it. Oh, I'm gonna spoil it. I know what happens. I'm gonna spoil it." And so I'm sitting here like, "No,
That
no!" I'm like,
sounds
I'm
like Jake.
already like on edge.
I have to ruin
And
it
then
for
it,
someone else if it got ruined for me. You know, it's like it follows. I gotta curse the next person. Get this curse
no.
off me.
And so I was already on edge. I'm just like, wait, what's that big that he's freaking out this much about it? And then it
Oh, it's
happens, and
so
I'm
bad.
pretty sure I like audibly gasped. I was just like, oh, like no. um, I wasn't necessarily like disappointed or happy by any means. I wasn't expecting it, but I think it's definitely going to be a key point, especially when it comes on to like your theory about it repeating itself over and over again. Like, how many times are we gonna have to go through this before Loki gets it right? So this is like one prime example of how things went wrong. So I think it was almost necessary for it to happen. Which you kind of get that vibe when like he's saying like, "Oh, I have to do this." It's all kind of like set up to fail, and you slowly learn that through the episode anyways. And so seeing him go like that is just kind of like, it makes sense as much as it's like, damn, now we got to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't think that scene was like part of like reshoots, do you?
Okay.
You
So
don't think they
we're
adjusted the
done.
story?
Yeah,
because
we're
of-
done with the episode. I want to get into some things that are spoilery for everybody else out there.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I got the inside scoop, people. I watch YouTubers that give me all the spoils all the time for no reason. No, this is what I love about it, okay?
Take that with a grain of salt, everybody.
Yeah, please do. What was your question?
Do you think that was part of the reshoots?
Okay, so
and they're like pushing him out
I could see that, and
because like maybe Miss Minutes and Ravonna are actually gonna kind of be the big bad, and like we're actually like not gonna do the king thing.
and I could see that being the case. That kind of leads me closer to believe the theory that like Ravonna is a variant of Kang, and like we just don't know it yet, and maybe they'll just like wipe him off. But there is something that it's known, everybody knows it. We're getting 3 episodes with Jonathan Majors in it. We've gotten 2. We're gonna get another episode with him in it. I don't know to what extent that means. If that just means that we're gonna go have Loki time slip back in time, or time slip to a different time and there's a different Kang. But I do love the idea that like that is like another big bad Kang like out there. I don't think this was part of the reshoots. I think that they did this and we're still gonna get another variant of him later because we know we see him again. But to your point, I would love it if they just handled it right now and just like kind of, I think we're gonna be left on a cliffhanger at the end of this regardless with if he is gonna be like coming back or not. So that is probably one of the reshoots. But I felt like this scene was always going to happen. So, because I think the director came out and he said, yeah, we did like 8 days of reshoots. Like we did reshoots like 8 times, like 8 different times. Like, and that's like really low for a series, honestly. Usually like they do a lot more reshoots for different things. So most of this is like I feel like kept in and was part of the story. I think it was just too difficult to reshoot this the show because like what it's going like its purpose is to set up everything in the future. So I don't know if they reshot that, but I would be surprised if that was part of the reshoots. We do see him again, so but yeah, so we're done with the episode. I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I mean, easy question. Like, what's next? What do you guys see happening in the future? You don't have to go through the whole season, the rest of the season. You can just say like maybe what your thoughts are on the next episode. Because what we know is the time loom collapsed and exploded pretty much, and it ends with literally just darkness and silence, which means like they're like in like the void of space, like before time even began, is like what I got from it. But
I mean,
what's
aren't they
next?
pretty much dying right there in that scene?
That's the question, my friend. That is the question. So
I believe there is a limbo in the MCU, or at least in the comics.
what do you mean?
I believe there's an actual place called Limbo, so that could
Mm,
be interesting, and it could be something kind of similar to like where did they go when they found Eliath in season 1?
the
What was
void.
that place? The Void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
kind of similar to that, but
maybe what happens is they get, since they're like at the end of time, that and that happens, maybe what kind of maybe this is the answer to our question that we've been having, is like we see Loki in other trailer clips time slipping, and we haven't seen him time slip since episode 1, so we know he's going to be time slipping again. Did this kick him out of time then? And so now he's like not supposed to be in any time, like he's just like going to be time slipping? Is that like what causes the time slipping? Have you thought about that, Kesha, at all, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't think about that, but it makes me think. Like, I sort of agree with what you're saying. I say sort of because I had a question. Do we know if Loki still had the a
Tempat?
stick? No,
the pruning stick.
Yeah, the pruning stick. Because my question is like, what if he knows there's inevitable death, so he prunes himself so he has the ability to get back, because he did it once, so who says he can't do it again?
No, see, I feel the same way. Like that's what I think about the loop. You know, I have it written here. I think he's like gonna be like going back and maybe dropping little hints to himself or little clues every single time.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think that this was even like his first time. It might have been like later on, he's already been through this and like didn't realize like the cocoa machine like planted that, like maybe to avoid something. Like maybe he planted that sign in that one spot outside of the Viking tower in episode 3 that said, "Oh, Victor Timely thing right here." Maybe he like planted that sign like to help him like on this journey to find out like how to get it, and he still failed. So I do think he is going to go like, this is going to be like bookended, and he's going to go back to the beginning a little bit and have to like figure out ways to help himself in the future. But he wasn't time slipping, and so like that's where like my confusion comes in. I'm just like, okay, so is he going to be time slipping this time, and or is it just all ending? Yeah.
Could I read you this really quick? Because I looked
Yeah.
up Limbo in the Marvel Universe.
Oh, shoot me.
So it's a little small paragraph, but it says temporal limbo was a timeless realm used for time travel. It was a dimension that was unique in that it existed outside the time stream and thus possessed no time. Universe in temporal limbo was comprised of a single ever-changing moment in which everything that ever was, is, and could be coexisted. So I think it'd be pretty cool if that happened to them.
That makes sense.
I'm getting like a mix between like Back to the Future and like some Inception vibes.
Oh yeah. But you think that he's going to go back and there's going to be like 30 Lokis at some point? They're like, hey man, like it's possible that maybe there was a different Loki like that we never saw in that hallway, just like peeking in, being like, yo, is he going to do it? Okay, cool. And then like bounces because like he's got to make sure that he gets pruned.
Well, I think that this is either one option or this could also somewhat tie into another theory that I think you and I both share, because you referenced Secret Wars before.
Mm-hmm.
And like Marvel always does things a little bit different, but like essentially with Secret Wars, the whole thing is that it's not just one world is ending, but it's multiple worlds, and it's also the entire universe that's coming to an end. And it's a bunch of our heroes trying to figure out what's the best plan to save, save worlds, and are we actually able to save them? And of course, everyone kind of has their different ideas on what's right and wrong. And then I feel like it's kind of like Civil War, but like on a huger scale. You know what I mean? Like with people kind of taking
Mm-hmm.
different sides, like, which I think is really cool. Like that's always like really interested in me. Like in comics, when like some of your favorite heroes like aren't seeing eye to eye, that sort of thing. But
Oh
but
yeah.
basically but basically, I feel like this could really tie into that, with especially with this ending that we're seeing here in episode 4.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And I love that other thing you said too, like the idea. But I was gonna ask, is that like Groundhog Day? You were talking about with the other
Limbo.
the limbo. So is that what it kind of explained? I was gonna stop you and ask you. I forgot to. But
I
is it
mean,
like Groundhog Day
it's
where
kind
it's
of
like you're
hard.
stuck in a moment?
I figured you would be stuck in a place.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's like outside time and you're just stuck in that.
it's interesting too. And shout out to my friends that have played many hours of this game with me. But I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, Jake, but there's this game called Munchkin, and it's
Oh,
like
you talked to me about it, I think, once.
it's a tabletop game. Oh, we're definitely playing when we hang out in person. Um, but
I'm
like
down.
the original version is basically like a kind of like a spin on Dungeons and Dragons, but like really dumbed down. But there's a Marvel version, and so that's the one that I play. And um, there's like settings, so there's like actual places that you'll be fighting, and
Mhm.
one of the places is Limbo.
Okay.
So
I think there was a lot of language in that one little paragraph that is used in this series. So
well, it's
it
interesting
sounds like
that
it.
it was called temporal limbo too.
Yeah. So, and that's what we gotta realize. Maybe like it's like the spirit of Loki is gonna like do something crazy. I have no idea, dude. But is this all part of He Who Remains plan? And let me explain this to you guys in a second. Did he do all this to have the collapse happen? Is he the one that has set up all these different things so Loki fails, so that the time breaks, so that he can basically be reborn? Because he got killed and he needs to be reborn. And for him to be reborn, there needs to be chaos and a giant war. And so he needs this to all break apart so that he can be created to.
Oh, I think Jake froze.
Oh no. He
It's okay.
did.
He'll come back in a second.
Oh goodness.
Real quick, guys, leave us a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and more importantly, drop us a comment. Let us know how you're enjoying the episode, and definitely want to hear your guys' theories. So let us know. All right, Jake's back.
Can you hear me?
We
Yeah, you're good.
can.
I was like yelling, bro. I was like, fuck, I just got pruned, dude. I got spaghettified right there, folks. I stepped out that door, dude, and just blah! But yeah, so what I was saying is like, is this all part of the plan, basically to like collapse the TVA and like to get reborn, because he needs like this chaos to happen to like be able to rise up. I forget like the phrase or like what everyone always says about like war.
Reincarnated?
No, like time, like hard times make like hard men, but that's not really like the phrase I'm looking for. But basically that, where like he needs this to happen so that he who remains can come up on top. And like he was born into the chaos of this, and so if this is what he needs to be done to get like reborn into the universe, I think that might be part of his plan. What do you guys think? Or do you think that like he has nothing to do with this and this is like his plan failed?
I think it's a mix of both. Like, I think that his initial plan is happening, but it's not happening the way it was supposed to happen.
All right, Tom, thoughts?
It's just so hard to say, but like I was kind of talking about earlier, like this episode just makes me curious about the reshoots and about the direction that they'll go, because there is that drama with Jonathan Majors, and like, is King the Conqueror still going to be like kind of the end goal for this phase, or are they kind of shifting it, or are they kind of like changing it a little bit, like kind of like reshaping it, like what you said? Maybe it can still be King, but maybe like Ravonna is like the variant, and we're gonna kind of stick with her
Okay. All right.
to kind of like take that role.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say. Real quick, shout out to Simone, one of our friends.
Hey, Simone.
Yeah, great trivia player, great Fall Guys player.
Very good. Yeah. I'm scared to play with her because she beats me every time. So, all right. Simple question, Dom. I'll ask you first, man. Is Loki gonna fail? Is this all gonna collapse? Is he gonna fulfill his purpose, the Loki purpose, to always fail? And that's why he was chosen by He Who Remains, to fail at this mission.
You hit me with a deep question. Are you ready
Boom!
Are you ready for a deep answer?
I want it. Yeah. Yes. I'm waiting for one word answer, Dom. What's up, man?
I just don't know how like in depth I want to go with the answer.
Hey, man, make it like a 10-layer cake. You know,
I know.
That's what the show is.
I don't think we need a TED talk, but maybe he'll realize that maybe he will fail, but he'll realize that it's not so much about what happens or like the decision that he makes, the action that happens, but it's more so about what he can turn that situation into. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Does that make sense, or you want me to like clarify a little bit? Okay,
No,
maybe he's like,
you're saying
sometimes
it's like a
people
learning lesson, right?
yeah, sometimes people are looking for like the right answer, like they need the right answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like sometimes there's not a right answer. Sometimes there's just multiple options. And so like right now maybe he's like struggling with like what's the right answer? What's the right decision? And maybe he fails and then he's like, "Oh, that wasn't it." And like now I'm back to, you know, this cycle of failing. But in reality, it's like you're handed like these cards, and it's like it's all about how you play the cards. You know what I mean? Like going forward, like how he's going to get through like whatever obstacle comes next if he does fail.
Okay, so kind of like what you were saying a little bit, and also kind of what Kesha was saying a little bit earlier. Where like he maybe at the end of this he realizes that like he can fail, but he can still be the hero, and so he decides to like turn his ways around by the end of the series, and there's a season 3, everybody. And by the end of this season, decide he wants to be a good guy and be like, all right, like I've been dealt these cards. I'm surrounded by people that care about me, that I care about. Like I'm just gonna make the best of this and figure it out. All right, I like that. Kesha, is he gonna fail?
You kind of stole some of my words. I was gonna say, but
Who, me?
No,
no,
I did.
Jake.
Oh, okay.
Because he fed off what you said, and I was like, that's exactly kind of going into my theory from earlier.
All right, talk
Because
about it.
earlier I was saying, just like he said, how he wants to be a better person, and so he's trying to fix himself within all these like redos. So, say your question again so I can get back on track here.
Does he fail?
Okay, so I think he's going to fail multiple times. But I think we're going to see that failure multiple times.
Yeah.
Will we ever see the end result of what actually happens? I don't actually know yet. Like, I don't have any theory on that yet. But I will say, I think it's a possibility to see us getting closer to him succeeding to his goal. The thing is we don't actually know what his end goal is, besides what he says. But we've also learned from watching him beforehand, what he says isn't necessarily always what he means.
Okay. All right. Some
But what do you think, Jake?
I think he has to fail. I think that's where Secret Wars comes in. I think the next episode we're gonna see some incursions happening. We see in trailers like Sylvie in a record shop, and the record is raveling itself. We've seen the TVA monitor unraveling. I think he tries everything he possibly can to save it, and I think he fails. And I think that's why he was chosen by He Who Remains. And I think next episode we're going to see him. I think we're going to see everybody possibly in that room go back to their timelines, but like not to their actual timeline, and then just start time slipping to some degree. Because we get Loki, we get Sylvie somewhere, we get Mobius in a different place in the jet ski place. Yeah. So I think he fails. I don't know exactly how he's going to fail, but we do know that Renslayer is still alive. Sorry to tell everybody. We've seen her in the trailers in the void with Elias' color shining on her. And I think that she's going to be able to... I think Elias is going to remember Renslayer and not kill her or anything. I don't know how she's going to get out of that situation, but I think that she's going to probably cause a lot more trouble for Loki. And I'm willing to bet to say that, Loki's going to fail. We need him to. I think we're going to see some incursions happening. We're going to have to lead into Secret Wars. I heard a few things like after this, like they're probably going to cut all most of their movies because they're kind of pointless right now. Like they really don't have anything to do with anything. The show is basically everything right now to Marvel. So he's gonna fail. And
just to play like devil's advocate for a second,
mm-hmm.
What if he's actually gonna succeed? Because like you said, maybe King picked him because of what he knows about him and like the cycle that he's had. But like Loki's been playing his cards like a good guy. So in a way, like he's being more unpredictable than he has in the past.
That is very true.
So what if he's actually on a path that he's actually going to succeed?
I would love it. I don't know if it's going to get there, but I would love it. And maybe they do what you're saying right now, and like this is how they get rid of Kang. And maybe Loki is just going to be like the ruler of Battle World during Secret Wars, because he's going to try to save every
I'm hoping
piece that he
Dr.
can.
Doom is going to be the ruler.
I wish, dude. I would know. They're ruining this whole storyline with Kang. It's really annoying me. Yes, I would love to see Dr. Doom in there. And maybe
it's
we
supposed
get
to
it.
be him.
maybe we get a tease at the end of the season that like something nefarious is going on with a different scientist that's the smartest man on Earth. But he also controls magic, and oh my gosh,
his name is also Victor.
His name is also Victor. Yes. Yep. All right.
Would
Yes,
they do
yeah, I
that?
got that.
Would they do that?
Dude, if they did, that's what I was calling for right when all this stuff happened with Jonathan Majors. I was like, please, like, cut him off and just start working on Doctor Doom. Like, for the love of everything holy, just I need to see this guy just torment everybody. But yeah, I would love to see that. If he did, I don't know. It'd be interesting. Maybe that's how they get out of the whole Jonathan Major situation. It's possible. It would, and
Well,
it would be a surprise.
I had more to say about the Secret Wars thing because kind of the theory and some other stuff that I'm hearing too is that, you know, if it goes that route, that basically everything in the MCU is now going to be canon, but basically, you know, multiple things or franchises, films and stuff like could be on like different timelines, but all exist and all be canon. So for example, the Fox X-Men stuff can all be canon. And then, which brings me to my other point, because earlier this week I saw something about Kevin Feige saying that that everything in Marvel is canon to them. You know what I mean? And
It's
and
crazy.
also,
Yeah.
also I heard something too about the Marvels show, or I'm sorry, the Marvels film.
Movie. I am
And,
not
like-
excited about this, dude. Yeah, I know.
But I heard some stuff being leaked, but like basically what I'm hearing is that like it was purposefully leaked about like who's gonna show up and like the cameos in it, and that it was purposefully leaked so that it could draw in more attention because it's like
It's gonna flop so hard.
yeah, because it's set out to do really bad.
Yeah. Post-credit scene is supposed to be Deadpool. Yeah. They're gonna try to draw everybody in to be like, oh, Deadpool's in the post-credit scene doing his multiverse shenanigans. I think, is that what you're talking about that you heard?
I actually didn't hear who it was going to be, and I thought I heard that it was going to be multiple people, but I just had heard that it was also going to play into Secret Wars as well.
Of course it is. Yeah. It's the most important movie before Secret Wars. Everyone has to go see it, guys. It's an hour and 30 minutes long. It's great. It's gonna be a great movie. So excited for it. I'm not seeing it.
Rough. It looks pretty rough.
No, it looks atrocious. Looks bad, man. It looks bad. All right. I kind of want to get into our rogue theories now. I haven't really heard Kesha's
There's
rogue
more?
theory.
Yeah, I was waiting for real to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, did you already give your rogue theory, Dom?
I don't know if it was rogue, but that's all I've got.
Okay. I got something nuts for you guys, but I want Kesha to hit us with something crazy first, and then
It's
we'll wrap
probably
it up
not
and get out of
near
here.
as nuts as yours is. But, so you've been talking about how you think Renslayer is like a variant of He Who Remains. Well, I was kind of more focused on Miss Minutes. So we've talked about before how Miss Minutes is Renslayer. Like it's just parts of her.
Mhm.
Well, what if Miss Minutes is actually an old variant of Renslayer? And all of those parts of that variant is in Miss Minutes. And that's why they don't exactly see eye to eye, but Miss Minutes is trying to kind of coerce her into the persona that Miss Minutes is. And so, like, that's kind of where I'm going with is like, what if Miss Minutes is manipulating Renslayer as we know her now, like the variant of Renslayer that we know her now, into completing this initial mission or plan that Renslayer and He Who Remains had. So the reason it's kind of out there is because who we see as Renslayer in the video in the beginning, what if that's a different variant from the Renslayer we know of?
No, I love that. Actually, it makes sense because maybe he just took the Renslayer that was like brutal and then kind of toned her down and like shoved her into this clock, took her aura, and then went back because we saw that in season 1 that Renslayer was actually a teacher. So maybe that's the variant that's in charge right now in the TVA that's been running around. And really, Miss Minutes is like the old, like, battle
Yeah, a
worn
different one
Red
that was
Slayer.
like
Like
more
the what?
hardcore.
No, the one we saw from the beginning of this episode is Miss Minutes, and
Yeah,
he went and plucked that other Renslayer out and said like,
exactly.
"You're a
That's
little bit more
exactly what I'm
chill.
saying.
You're a little bit more calm. Like, I'll have you come work for me. I still love you. Like, come work for me."
That's exactly what I was saying.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. Not as rogue as my theory.
I
Dom's gonna
just
love
think
this
it would
one.
be.
What if OB
Is
a
Miss
robot?
Minutes.
Is a robot? Yeah. You know how Miss Minutes wanted a body? Maybe she was jealous that Kane the Conqueror already did that for some other program he created known as OB and stuck him inside of a body with flesh and bone. And so Miss Minutes is like just ticked off that like she didn't get the same treatment. But really OB has been like a Miss Minutes, but like he figured out a way to put him into like a human form, like a body. That's why OB doesn't sleep. That's why like his memory doesn't get wiped anymore. Like, I
It's
don't
just
know.
reprogramming rather than being wiped.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. I don't. That's a so far out there thing that I thought about literally right before we started this episode. I was
He's
like, dude, what
definitely
if?
giving NPC.
Isn't he? Isn't he, dude?
He
He
really
like how he
is,
reacts to things. Like he doesn't. His mood doesn't really change too much one way or the other. Like
Even when he's excited
maybe.
about things, it's like a dull excitement.
Yeah, like I'm ready to see. And we already know that King built robots before because he built the 3 figures at the end of time or whatever for the first season. So I'm just saying, maybe that's where like, you know, Miss Minutes is ticked off. And I like saying ticked off for Miss Minutes because she's a clock. She goes tick tock.
It's good. It's good.
It's good stuff. Anyways, I don't know how you guys feel about that little rogue theory thrown out there. Little slice of pie I just gave you. So, yeah. Anyways, I had a great time. What do you guys rate this episode? Yesha?
Oh my. Honestly, I would say like a 9.
No, she's going big time.
Yeah, I'm going big because I really enjoyed it. I think it gives a lot to theorize and understand as well as question. There's so many different ways that it could go. I think it's a great middle plot to having any way that they want this to go.
All right, I love it. I love it. So 9 out of 10. No, she gave a 9 out of 100, folks. Okay. Tom, what's your thoughts on this episode? Do you enjoy it, man?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I'm liking this season. I really hope that they stick the landing. I'm still a little skeptical.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I want the last episode to be really, really good. Only have 2 more episodes left.
We only got 2 more. Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I give it like an 8 out of 10. A little bit disappointed in the beginning and them just being like, oh, well, here's the conversation that everyone knows about that you had with Kang. I was like, okay. I was expecting maybe a little bit more. And then the show got ruined for me, folks.
Yeah.
So that knocks the point off too. That really angers me. But yeah, so I'll give it like an 8 out of 10 as well. I hope they stick the landing too. I did say it's gonna be season 3, so forewarning if you get left just hanging out, folks. And also, this episode was supposed to happen way sooner. in like episode 2, and we were supposed to see like a bunch of battling going on, and there was supposed to be like actual like multiverse war happening in this season. But Kevin Feige came to the people that were writing Loki and said, no, that's too much, you can't do that yet, slow it down, take it down a notch. So that's why I think you might be a little disappointed with the ending of this, because I think it's just going to be a cliffhanger into future things and into season 3. I'm excited for it. I hope it ends great.
Did we get a Fantastic Four cameo at the end?
I want a Doctor Doom cameo for sure. Yeah. Give me Doctor Doom.
Or an Illuminati cameo. Like someone from
I don't know, man. That'd be too hard to do, I think.
So like Professor X, Black Bolt, I mean, I guess Doctor Strange could be on there too.
Do we get a Deadpool cameo? Does he just show up randomly in like one of the scenes
just
and like, what
the
is going on? Yeah, just cussing all away, dude, in the Disney Plus TV show, dude, just rocking it. I don't know.
That'd be too good.
Yeah, it would be too good. Plus, they got to save that for Captain Marvel,
the
Marvel's movie, so they could try to make some money out of it. Gosh, that's gonna be a terrible film. Do you guys have anything else to add about this, or you guys solid?
I'm good. I got to say what I had to.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, last thing is we probably have to start talking positively about it, about the Marvels film if we want to, in the future.
I know it's gonna be so
Disney,
good, guys.
Have Disney send us episodes in advance, you know.
I haven't even seen it yet, and it's a 10 out of 10. Best Marvel film I've ever seen. We can't say the S word on here, but I'm trying. Yeah. All right. Well, look, guys, we got a lot of crazy times coming up ahead. And Loki season 2, episode 5 next week on Thursday night. I'm expecting a whirlwind. It's gonna be pretty nuts. You know, I gotta say thank you to Dom and Kesha for sticking with me through this madness that I put them through every Friday. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. I wouldn't do it with anyone else. All right. Thank you guys so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, people. Okay? Like and subscribe.
Get on that.
It's good for Dom. He loves seeing those numbers go up, folks. Put a smile on his face, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyways, hey,
it's like the way Miss Minutes looks when when she sees people get crushed to bits.
I'm gonna have to meme that. Dom looking at the number of subscribers tick up.
Yeah.
Just murderous glee in his face, dude.
Oh,
all right. Hey.
All right. Oh wait, hang on. You're closing things out too early. Oh yeah, go check out some of the Spider-Man stream. I finished the main story, but there's still like some side adventures, so I'm sure I'll be streaming more of the game.
Do you find the Fantastic Four Easter egg in the game?
Oh no,
there's a 4 written on the helipad on one of the top of the buildings that's supposedly a Fantastic Four bot.
They had that in Ultimate Spider-Man too.
Did you also see that video I sent you about them?
Not yet.
I don't know if we talked about it. Integrating into the Spider-Verse in the game and having the character in the bar. You go to a bar, you complete a little bit like mission for this guy, and then like a portal opens up and the Indian Spider-Man's there or something, and it says something to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, crazy. So you're talking about them like adding all the things, like Marvel's saying like everything's connected. Sony can go bonkers right now with the Spider-Man universe if they want. So I'm here for it. Hey guys, there's something called superhero fatigue, but pretty sure first 24 hours that game was out, they sold 2.5 million copies. So I don't know if there is such thing as a superhero fatigue right now, but Miss Marvel is going to be fantastic. Everyone go see the Marvels. It's a great show. Disney, listen up. I'm here for you. Okay.
Yeah. And I think Brie Larson has another new haircut, so that'll be great.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, stoked for that. No, yeah. That's gonna be the talk of the town for at least a month and a half here, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, sick haircut, buddy.
Woo! Yeah, let me know which barber is. Gotta go check it out. All right. Anyways, yeah. Thank you guys so much. I had a great time. Honestly, can't wait to do it next week. Expect me to be a little bit crazier next week. I'm gonna turn up to about a 15. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
it gets worse. I mean, it gets better than
Oh, stop throwing shade. Jeez Louise. This is the abuse I
we'll be
get
back. We'll be
working for
back.
this guy. You know, he doesn't even pay me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. All right. Hey, you guys have a good night. Peace.